This is the Audience Connection podcast, where we hear from the best content strategists and storytellers in the industry about how to create content that builds audience connection. I'm your host, Lydia Chan. We are sponsored by Casual, the video partner for global businesses. With offices in the US, EMEA, and APAC, Casual lives and breathes storytelling, creating impactful stories on a global scale with a local touch. Okay, today's guest is Matthew Luhn, Pixar veteran who worked on classics like Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, and many more. He's a master storyteller and trusted advisor to some of the Fortune 500's biggest brands on the art of storytelling. He's also the author of the book, The Best Story Wins: How to Leverage Hollywood Storytelling in Business and Beyond. Matthew, it's so great to have you on the show. I think third time's a charm, so you're a very
Yes.
busy man.
Well, I'm happy we have finally come together, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited for our conversation. But first, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your journey into storytelling and what led you from the animation studios to helping Fortune 500 companies tell better stories.
Okay. Well, I would say it all started in a toy store because when I was born in the San Francisco Bay Area, my parents owned 7 toy stores and called Jeffrey's Toys. And my whole family, including myself growing up, worked in the stores. And so I would say, while it was toys, which is fun, all of the conversations around the dinner table were always business related. But I was also, in the meantime, um, always drawing and writing stories. And fortunately, I had a dad who secretly wanted to be an animator at Disney. So he definitely encouraged me to follow that path so he could live vicariously through me. And also, I could do what I love. And that took me to, uh, s- following my passion, which was, a career in animation and film.
Yeah. No, that's really amazing, Matthew, because when you think about when does imagination really kind of spur is when kids are playing, right? You're playing
Oh,
with
yeah.
a toy and you sort of watch kids just like their imaginations just run wild. And I think, I don't know, we need a bit more of that for
Oh,
adults as well.
definitely. Yeah. I was very fortunate. Surrounded by toys, having a dad who wanted to be a Disney animator, and also a mother who was very supportive. And I ended up going to, well, first I would say in high school, it didn't end for me. And that's one of the things I you know, like to share with people who are younger and they are aspiring artists, storytellers, creators. Uh, don't let that dream fall away when you become a teenager or head off to college or you're a young working adult. When I was in high school, I found a Super 8 camera that's not digital, but real film. And through all of high school, I was making short films, animation, live action. And that's what got me into the college I went to, Cal Arts, which is in Los Angeles. It's the animation school that Walt Disney created before he passed away to train the next generation of artists to go work for him. So I ended up going to that school 1 year and I made an animated short film and got a job at The Simpsons because of that. And I was 19 years old. Not normal.
Nice. Very nice. So, Matthew, on this show, we focus on, how businesses can build more genuine connections, right, with their audiences. So I guess for you, what was that, I don't know, maybe aha moment, right, that made you realize the power of storytelling extended beyond the screen, beyond animation
Yeah.
studios and into business?
I would say that working at The Simpsons as an animator and learning about storytelling, that was my first exposure to how stories in the entertainment world can be so moving. But then when I came into Pixar, when Toy Story was being made, and I came in as an animator, but also was helping out with the story process. Um, Pixar was back in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, which was unusual for a animation studio. But while I'm helping out with my family at the toy store and working on Toy Story, I was starting to see the parallels between making authentic connections with an audience at a movie theater or as they're watching a TV show and making an authentic, relatable connection with people coming in the toy store. And I was starting to use those story skills to be able to interact with people more effectively when they were coming into the toy store and not just to sell them one toy for that on that one day, but make a connection with them that would, be passed on to their kids or their friends. And so it was during that time, those early years at Pixar, that I saw that storytelling is not just for entertainment, it's for business and for everything.
Yeah. Can you expand on that a little bit more, right? Like what did that maybe look like, or maybe the
Yeah.
frameworks of what that means, right? As someone who's trying to interact with the customer, but doing it in a way where you're truly telling a more meaningful story or a more meaningful conversation with them.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to me crafting a story, if it's a film or a TV show or a book, you know, it just keeps going back to five things I'm always thinking of, like, how do I hook the audience in 8 seconds? How do I transform them through a story, through the characters changing in the story and it, you know, engenders a change in them? How do I connect with anybody universally with a story and then make it authentic and have a good story structure? And then you look at a toy store or a big brand. The first thing we're trying to do is hook people within 8 seconds. Now, for my family at the toy store, it was how to get people who are walking down in downtown San Francisco on Market Street. How do we get them to come in the store? Well, one of the hooks we use is, what do you put in that front window? For example, I own a lot of maybe fairly large animation geeky things, and one of them was a actual human size sculptures of the Simpsons sitting on the couch.
Very cool.
It's huge. It's great for the front window at the toy store, though. I mean, what a great hook. People see that, they come in the store.
Yeah.
But my grandfather back in the day, after World War II, he would stand out there with a coffee can full of dimes, and he would say, "If you come in my store, I'll give you a dime." So the hook, and then when you have people come in, you want to make a connection by simply asking them questions and listening. What are you looking for? Is it a birthday? Is it for a boy? Is it for a girl? Is it for a relative or a friend? And then I start to use short kind of experiences like, well, I have kids and they loved this on their birthday, or they loved this that I got them on the holidays. It's using the same kind of connections we do in entertainment, but with business, hooking, changing, connecting, making it authentic, um, and putting people in the place of being the hero when they come in the store, or you're trying to connect with somebody, whether you're a marketer, you're a salesperson, You know, it's all about creating a story that puts people into that role. So then you can share with them how you can positively affect their future story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's it's really important, like that you mentioned, this is like who are we speaking to, right? And then understanding the use cases for them, like why, right? Why are you in the store? Or why do you use this product? How does it help your life? And then that research or those conversations then translate into how marketers or again communication professionals start to tell the story of whatever it is that they're trying to do versus maybe looking more inward is like the top down approach where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, here's what we're trying to say, here's what, without thinking about that human person you're actually trying to speak to and what matters to them.
Yeah. You know, one of the important things to remember as a storyteller is while you want to create stories, testimonials, metaphors, experiences, all those that are personal to you, you don't want them to be so personal to you that they become obscure to the person you're sharing it with. You always need to think about who is the audience, who is the customer, um, who is the peer or the partner, and what's important to them. That's a very important thing because a lot of times I find people in the business world always see themselves and their company as the hero to save the day. But actually, we want to think about the person we're pitching to as the hero and what is their goal and what are their obstacles and how can we transform them. Those are all the things that we're trying to do when we create a film or a TV show or a book. How do we change the audience? So
Yeah, I think
it's,
that's a really interesting point to bring up, because I think usually you see you like for example marketing a particular product or tech product, right? um you sometimes see a characters being built on eh, sort of what they need, right? And then the product becomes the hero that comes in and obviously, changes their lives or like makes their lives better. So, I guess how do you flip that switch, right? Of
yeah,
like, well, the product is not necessarily the hero, but the person is the hero, but the product plays a very good supporting character.
it, it does. The way to think about it is that the person you're pitching to, or whatever you want to do, the customer or, the person you're trying to engage with, they are the hero. And in the story scenario, you are the mentor. And when you think about the cast of characters in movies, whether it's the Harry Potter films or the Star Wars series or Wizard of Oz or whatever, you have a hero. And then the hero always has a mentor, a Mr. Miyagi, a Dumbledore, a Gilda the Good Witch. And the mentor usually bestows a item to the hero to help them reach their goal. A magic wand, a lightsaber, a pair of ruby slippers. And through the mentor's advice and wisdom and that magical tool they bestow to the hero, that helps the hero be able to overcome their obstacles and their fears and doubts to change and reach their goal. When you think about what the product is like the lightsaber, it's like the wand, it's the ruby slippers that gives the hero, the customer, or the person you're pitching to, the confidence to be able to overcome the obstacles and reach their goal. But I would say one of the things that most story people know is that the mentor character, Obi-Wan Kenobi, whoever it is, they usually die at the end of Act Two or the beginning of Act Three, or they're missing. Where's
Yeah.
Dumbledore again? He's like on a mission or something, right? And it leaves the hero having to reach the goal themselves, but they do have ally characters um, to be able to be there to kind of lift them up and help them reach the finish line. And that's the Han Solo, the Princess Leia, the Ron, the Hermione. And for us in the business world, our role changes from mentor to ally. And I love it when I'm working with a company. It could be, a wealth manager. It could be my car maintenance. And after I've got a service done or something's been taken care of, they check in with me a month later. How are you doing? Did everything work good? Did you reach the finish line? Those characters in stories are very similar um, to our role in the business world. And there's going to be times, though, where you're going to be the hero of your story when you share your career path story. And that's one of the first things that comes up when people are meeting a stranger. What do you do for a living? That is your opportunity to share. I'm from New York City. I moved to LA. I pursued this passion. You can be the hero in that story. But almost every other time, you're putting somebody else in the role of being the hero in their story.
Hmm, very interesting. Um, I think so. With most business leaders, right? I think people understand that story is important, and they're always all in on storytelling, right? At least the rooms that I'm in. But I feel like when we get down to it, it's hard to make it tangible for them, right? Of like, you know, um, the fact that it's still art, right, and it's quite abstract, and hard to apply sometimes in like a pitch or a campaign, and y- that's why we leverage storytelling experts, right, and creatives. You have various, it's a different kind of mind sometimes. So, what's the clearest way that you found to explain why storytelling matters to a brand success?
It's a very good question. I really break it down into three things. Stories have this meaningful, magical ability in entertainment and business because number one, they make information more memorable. When there's just plot points in entertainment or just facts and figures being shared in the business world, they will not stick in people's minds unless there is a story attached that acts as the kind of glue to make the information and plot points stick around for longer than 10 minutes. So that's the first thing. Stories make information memorable. The second thing, stories impact our emotions. And most people who will listen to this know that a big part of what makes people want to uh, buy something or be a part of a brand or want to work at a company is it felt right. There was an emotion. Those emotions that story creates through the release of dopamine and oxytocin and endorphins and cortisol, the kind of fear chemical. When you are in a story meeting on a film or TV show, they won't use those words. They will say rising action, falling action, tension, release, happy moments, sad moments. But in the business world, those chemicals are dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins, and sometimes cortisol. And when it's done right, you will impact people's emotions. You'll make them laugh and cry and feel something if you're using a story and it goes beyond just what the product is, but what the product can do for you. Third thing, stories are personal. Um, a lot of us want that authentic personal connection to feel confident enough um, to try something new, to purchase something, to experience something, and we feel more confident when it's personal. So for all the people I trust in my life with my money, my health, my car, my children. I didn't meet those people just online. I usually met them on the sidelines of a sporting event or my kids' sporting events. And it all starts off with, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work for Charles Schwab and I'm a wealth manager. Oh, I'm a mechanic and I, own a car shop. I'm a doctor and I have a practice. That personal 5-minute story you share with people gives them the trust that this is somebody um, I could trust with the important things in my life. So stories are meaningful because they are memorable, impactful, and personal.
Yeah, and something I wrote down that you mentioned is the power of when someone says it just felt right, right? And I bring that up because in a world of data, and data influences, a lot of the ways that we tell stories, a lot of the ways that we make videos,
Yeah.
and create our messaging. But if you think about someone telling you a story, right, versus saying, "Hey, this is," showing you stats or bringing stats into the story, but when it comes to that pivotal point where they're like, "It just felt right," and then kind of delivering that whatever that ending piece is, like to the audience, you're like, you just feel something more when it's like, yeah, that
Yeah.
was almost a little bit serendipity, right? Because we
Yeah.
want that, a little bit of magic in life.
We do. I mean, think about when you get an opportunity to buy a house one day, or if you've purchased a house or a car. You've gone through, the websites, you've looked at the prices, you've looked at the square footage, you've looked at what the house has, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, all that. But there's something about when you enter the home, how does it feel? Does it feel like I belong here, And that feeling is because of everything that has to do with a story using all the five senses. How does it look inside? How does it smell? How does it, how does, um, how does it sound? Do you hear traffic or do you have birds, And, and then also just how does it feel? The tactile part.
Yeah.
Those things, they make us put all of the other things aside of how much it costs. Oh, it's not as big as I wanted, but it's so cute, and it just feels right. And that's what a story does.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, what I guess throughout your time consulting with brands and big organizations, what's the maybe biggest mistake that you've seen companies make when they're trying to quote unquote do storytelling, right?
Well, there's a couple of things. The one thing on the top is they forget that they are not the hero of the story. It's the people they're trying to connect to. That's the first thing I see. Um, we should see ourselves as we are a company of superheroes that save the day. That comes off kind of very arrogant and also um, distances yourself from the people you're trying to connect to. The other thing I would say is that, you know, like you said in the beginning of this, people have heard how important storytelling is, but it goes beyond just putting a poster in the boardroom that says the power of storytelling or we've got a great story to tell. It's about going deeper and understanding the principles of storytelling so that people can actually really apply it. And so, I see a lot of people talk about how important storytelling is, but they just maybe don't have the tools on how to be able to do it. And then I would say that I know we love to have a checklist and we just check the boxes. It feels good. It's a release of dopamine is what it is, right? But that box that says story, have we checked off the box and have figured out our story? I would say that people need to realize that it's a little more organic when you are finding the story around your product, your brand, your pitch. And it all doesn't just happen voila on the first try. The iterations um, need to be given time to be able to get to the best version. And I understand we have to always think about time and money when we are exploring something like that. But when you really look at the best companies out there, they may not be using the word iterations, but they will be using R&D. And I think we know that the companies that invest time and money into research and development, they are the most successful and uh, financially successful companies out there. It takes a little time to be able to do iterations with the right tools to be able to create the best stories. And it also takes people um, who are specialists in that field to be able to be like that Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Yeah.
that Mr. Miyagi, to be able to be a mentor to guide those companies down that path. So not only do they reach the goal, but they become better storytellers themselves.
Yeah. I really like what you said about that checklist, right? And like storytelling or stories
Yeah.
as something that's on the list. And if anything, it should be the heading of the list, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Like the title of the list, because you know, building a story takes time. It takes a
Yep.
foundation of elements, right? Like building your characters, building your scenes, or whatever it is,
Yep.
beginning, middle, end. So thinking of it as just like a, oh, hey, did we do that? Okay, cool, check, we did.
Yeah.
Like that, it means that it's going to fail every single time.
And this isn't just in the world of business that this just check the box happens. It happens in entertainment all the time. The producers, the money people just want to say our story's done. Let's move into production.
Yeah,
But you're absolutely right. There's so many things that are under that story box, from characters to what is the theme, all of those things. Yeah.
for sure. Um, I want to touch on the kind of current environment, right? So if unless you're sort of under a rock, you know that the industry is being quite disrupted right now with emerging technologies, etc. So as storytellers, why is it so important in this current environment that we make the case for brand storytelling with companies cutting back on budgets and
Yeah.
again, the different disruptors entering the space? What's your advice on how we can convince brands to continue to invest in
Yeah.
storytellers?
Well, it's interesting because, let's say AI, right? So AI, this new technology, and in my eyes, there's pros and cons with any new technology. When I came in um, to work on Toy Story, the first one at Pixar, I was the first 12 CG animators to work on that film. At that time, that new technology of CG animation was a serious threat to the whole animation art community and the whole film industry. And that was 30 years ago, but people were like, the computer is going to replace our job. Now, at that time, when Toy Story came out in 1995, there was maybe, I don't know, I'm kind of guessing, maybe 40 animated films that came out that year around the whole world.
Mm,
But now there's hundreds and hundreds of animated films that come out every year because that CG animation didn't replace humans. It actually became a new tool to be able to help people tell stories. But there were a lot of people early on that thought um, it's just the CG animation that makes a top grossing movie. And there's a lot of them. I don't know if anybody remembers these films like what was it called, Fishtail or something, or that came out, CG animated film, but it didn't have a good story, you know. So with this new technology with I think we need to look at it as it is another tool. Um, it can be a co-pilot sometimes. It can be, a muse. But um, in my opinion, it's not going to replace the authentic human that we want to hear over the phone, that we want creating the movie, the TV show, creating the new company in their garage. You know, we still need to have that authentic human touch. And I think all of this that's going on with AI right now is very new. It's also very gimmicky, and we love gimmicks. And I think at least I'm seeing in the entertainment world, we're starting to see more um, cons than pros with using it as a tool. At least I am, because I was trying to make an animated short using AI. Because, like everybody else, you look on social media,
Yeah.
Instagram, and it's like, wow, look what these tools can do. And as I started working with an AI company on this, I quickly found out that all of those things we're seeing on social media are highly manipulated to be able to sell products. You can't actually do those things when you're actually making something like I was, because I'm someone that's pretty like new technology and art and story, the golden flux capacitor, but it wasn't there, and it
Yeah.
was missing the human touch. So, and I think that just that tool is disrupting a lot of things. It's making people question, um, you know, should we be reducing our budgets right now? Should we be reducing our staff? And this is um, it's an exciting time, but with new technology and exciting times like this, it also makes things a little unclear. What is going to happen? Which is exciting. I mean, a lot of creative things happen when there's uncertainty, but um, I'm just kind of going along with it and trying these things out instead of just kind of crossing my arms and going, I'm not getting involved. You know,
Yeah. I
that's my
think people
philosophy.
yeah, I think people will find, some of the things you just mentioned quite reassuring, right? At least for me, I know, my, kind of run with AI tools is I actually find it really frustrating, and I just don't necessarily have the patience for it, and it almost removes the beauty of, like, something you just mentioned. It's like human connection of, like, creating together,
Yeah.
right? Like, that in itself, I don't know, I don't think you can replace.
No. I mean, I love great sci-fi films. I love apocalyptic movies. I love all kinds of movies, but I love seeing, you know, Black Mirror and, what kind of new technology, sci-fi things. Maybe some of it will come to life one day, but art goes in these kind of cycles. You've got the Renaissance and everything looks like highly realistic and beautiful. And then all of a sudden we went to the Impressionism time. Why did we do that? Weren't we just happy with the Renaissance? I mean, everything looked real. Why did we need to have, Van Gogh and Pablo Picasso making things, with eyes here and colors being in the wrong places? Because we change our tastes, and we love seeing the person behind the art. Um, so I think it's a cycles that art and technology goes through, and personally for me, I like the handcrafted draftsmanship of an item I purchase. I like seeing, live entertainment up on stage. I want to see real people, not a TV show that's just all made of AI characters with a prompt I've put in. So, you know,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, Matthew, I think that's a great kind of ending point here. So to wrap things up, I mean, I guess what are you keeping your eye on about the future of storytelling? I know we just kind of touched on
yeah.
that, but and anything else that
Well,
you're curious
one of
about?
the things I would say is that from my point of view, it's always going to come down to the fundamentals of storytelling that have been going on for thousands and thousands of years, from, you know, Toy Story to Star Wars to, Homer and the Gilgamesh and art in caves, right? It's still going to always come down to a hero on a journey. And the journey has a beginning, middle, and an end, with a theme, a message that inspires the listener or the watcher or the audience. But all of those advancements in art and movies and TV shows and books and in business, there's always been a pairing of new technology, um, a camera, optical printing, a new technique for paint, a new way to be able to make products or um, a business. So I think those things go hand in hand. And so I would say, as much as new technology can be scary, um, don't don't just repel it all, because it could be something that gives you the ability to tell the next best story or create the next best product, brand, company. Um, but it will always come back to, how did you make the audience feel? How did you make people feel with that thing you created? So,
For sure, Matthew, this was such a great conversation. Thank you so much for the time. So where can our listeners, learn more about you, your workshops, purchase your book?
sure. Well, first off, thank you for inviting me. This is my pleasure, and I'm happy we finally made this work. And I'm on the I you know I think we all know the different social media locations. I try to separate things a little bit, if I try. So I really try to use Instagram for visual stuff. So if you're ever interested in seeing, kind of the behind the scenes of things I've worked on, the Toy Story movies, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Simpsons, all that stuff, I put all my artwork on Instagram with little story suggestions of how to be a better storyteller. All of the kind of more businessy adventures and my books, like The Best Story Wins, I put that on LinkedIn. Um, and and if Amazon, or a local bookstore, you'll be able to find my books, The Best Story Wins, and it's been translated in, just this week. I guess it's now in Japanese, and it's also in Korean and soon to be German and Spanish. Um and then I do have a website. It's Matthew Luhn Story. And if you're ever interested in wanting to learn more about storytelling, for you or your company, I do keynotes and workshops and consulting. And for me, if it has something to do about storytelling, whether it's entertainment or business, I'm there. So, um, it all comes down to whoever tells the best story.
Awesome. Well, we'll put those in the show notes for you, Matthew. Yeah, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a great
Oh,
conversation.
thank you, Lydia.
Thanks for tuning in to the Audience Connection podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. If you'd like to connect with me about how I can help you tell better stories and connect better with your audiences, drop me a note, lydia@casualfilms.com. We'll be back with more episodes soon. See you next time.